What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome, all pilots, to the Pearl Station interview. So, new album just came out, you know what I'm saying, called What a Man Will Earn. Now, what is the meaning of that term? Why did I name it that? Well, main reason I named it What a Man Will Earn is really just transmuting like life in general. You know what I'm saying? Because when we go through life and these experiences, we're presented with challenges, things that appear to be very difficult and hard, and situations where it requires you to really embrace existence rather than brace yourself from existence. And one of the main things I just learned in this whole like last year period time of what this song is about is the many different tools that we can create to be keys to doors. You know what I'm saying? So each name and item to that album is really just named after an ability that we all have the ability to do. And really just kind of like going back to the reason I even named it that. I was kind of going through that little, red pill, blue pill phase and things like that when I made this album. You know what I'm saying? Seeing that there was a really big problem in the world, and you know what I'm saying, man could be a very true key to that and things like that, and just realizing certain things that and patterns that I was playing out too. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things I kind of came to the conclusion was, you know what, all right, there really is certain things that are not being acknowledged in the world. However, we don't have to go down that lost train of thought of thinking that we have to separate ourselves entirely from everybody, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for each and every last one of us, aka our parents came together and made some magic happen. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we can't run away from that. However, at the same thing, you know what I'm saying, we also can't not acknowledge that one of the main problems that was going on is that a lot of times, man, niggas just don't know how to listen. You know what I'm saying? People don't know how to listen. Nobody really takes things into consideration. And a lot of the thought forms I had to kind of like run through while I was going through those situations was, okay, really it's about knowing your boundaries, knowing your limits, and knowing your lane, aka having your own purpose and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we could get lost in, oh, this person is acting this way and it's not being received well. But at the end of the day, you got to also like look at it from a standpoint of whatever you think somebody else is doing ain't got nothing to do with what they doing. Somebody could be doing something based off of their own intentions and stuff like that. And so you have to be wise enough to know that whatever somebody else could be doing is not always what you think. And even if it's not received well, sometimes it's not always about looks, even though, you know what I'm saying, one of the cliche things that they like to say is men are visual people. And to an extent, that's very true. You know what I'm saying? Because it's by human nature that you are a visual person. However, you don't have to be bounded by these things that we call being human. And that's where this album kind of comes into play, pretty much going over the different tools I learned while going down those different trains of thoughts. Like, okay, shit is pretty fucked up. Even looking in my own real life, you know what I'm saying, and seeing the dysfunction in family and stuff like that. A lot of things I had to learn was, okay, first things first, you gotta first have your own starting point. Before you try and get lost in trying to understand somebody else, you gotta first understand yourself. You know what I'm saying? So first you gotta know how to acknowledge the problem. Once you acknowledge that problem, you start to see, okay, these are the routines, these are the patterns, these are the things that are holding me back from becoming what I say I am, right? Pro pilot in this thiggity thing, I had to actually go into that space and be like, okay, these are the things holding me back, right? And then from that, you gotta also accept those things, because to a certain extent, even though they may not be things you don't like, they're still things you did. And so they're just as acknowledgeable to be acknowledged. You know what I'm saying? You have to accept those things and also know that you're just observing these things. You don't have to be there. You know what I'm saying? And then from that, I learned, okay, it's not just acknowledging and accepting something. You got to change something. especially if you hear in a masculine form as a male, you got to be a man and change the world, not just kind of like get lost in sitting in that, oh, there's so many problems in the world. You got to go out and change those problems. You know what I'm saying? Instead of always being somebody who talks about the problems, you got to also put in the change to change those problems too. And that's kind of one of the main things I learned just from that whole phase where, we had a lot of women explaining their frustrations, which was very valid. You know what I'm saying? Those are very valid things. However, you got to know not to get lost into just sitting with those frustrations. Okay, those are the frustrations. Let's solve them. Let's put these things to work. And thing is, by default, we live in a very demonic world where the majority of people are doing those things. And so it is a big problem, but it's a bigger thing we got to put in to get out of that problem. And so that kind of led me to the keys of, okay, once you accept something, you also got to attend to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you acknowledge you're doing something that you're not supposed to, just you doing that, you expand your awareness. So you stop doing them same things. So from that, you're like, okay, let me stop doing them same patterns. Let me accept the bullshit I did. You know what I'm saying? Whatever karma, aka esoteric credit, I didn't accumulate it swiping my credit card in this same damn store all day and shit like that. All right, let me start swiping my credit card elsewhere, places that actually need this investment, because you're already a millionaire. So you can always create energy on the instant. You know what I'm saying? Energy can be created, but we just have a hard time destroying it. So a lot of times we have to put more energy, aka swipe that credit card in other areas to gain that credit to outweigh whatever we did. You know what I'm saying? This is why having bad credit is not bad. You know what I'm saying? You just got to start putting that bad credit to work elsewhere, aka what we talking about right now. So this came to the key of learning attentiveness. All right, so from attentiveness, you got to attend to the problem. You got to put in the work and know every instant, minute, and second, I got to embrace and put in that work to be, okay, this is what I got to work on. This is what I got to fix. Not always getting too lost in the problem of, oh, this is what's going on, let me just sit in the shit. No, let me change that and let me put my attention here. You know what I'm saying? It's like a battle between the universe. You know what I'm saying? The universe is like a girl. You know what I'm saying? If you want to look at it, if you a man, and then if you a woman, it'd be like a little boy. You know what I'm saying? As the observer, you gotta tell this girl or this little boy, hey, I'm not paying attention to that right now. AK, what do kids like to do? They like to go in candy stores, all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Lift up the little jar thing that be closing this shit, and stick a little licorice root in their mouth, and then run away and come find their mom like, hey, what you doing? Spit that shit out. You got to do the same thing with the universe. You got to treat the universe like that. You got to teach the universe. Every time you get a desire or you get something that comes up as an issue, you got to know you created that as the observer, but you also got to teach it what not to do so that doesn't get repeated. So that same problem, you got to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? We're not paying attention to this today. AKA, you might be wanting to think about a whole bunch of shit, but that's the universe in this perspective that we're kind of making an allegory to help you understand what we all experience for a lot better, to know, okay, the universe, I might be experiencing wanting to think all day right now, but I actually have this gift and talent that I need to put works to actually change something. AKA, that's you telling the universe, no, I'm not gonna think all day. I'm not gonna put my energy in that. This is more important than that. And that's you teaching that little girl, if you a man, teaching that little boy, if you a woman, this is what we gotta do. And that's you being a more spiritual adult. So from that attentiveness, it also led me to the mind frame of, okay, if you attend to something, you got to encourage yourself to go through it. It's not an easy task, but you have to keep going and create that purpose every single day, minute, and instant. And that's got to be fun. And it's okay to change that too. You know what I'm saying? The purpose is what you make. The purpose is like the starting point. Once you got the starting point, it doesn't matter what happens. You know this is the purpose. So if you know what your abilities are, you now have the tools to utilize that for your purpose. So when you do your purpose, oh, I feel good. You start to what? Encourage yourself. So once you encourage yourself, things become a lot smoother. And from there, you can actually learn to respect yourself, which was another tool that I kind of learned while going down them different mind frames. And this took about like 4, 5, 6 months of just going through the experience to come to these conclusions to transmute that in this song. You know what I'm saying? And so from respect, you know how to respect yourself. You know your starting point, so you know other spirits are here doing that too. You don't have to get lost in trying to make them do what you got to do, because that's really just narcissistic at the end of the day. You know, like why are you trying to make somebody do something that you got in your head that you think they should do, that they aren't all probably already doing for themselves? We're all doing the same thing. It's not what you do, it's just how you do it. And we live in a demonic world, so how people do the things we're supposed to do already be putting them away from making an all new possible way of making their situation seem like it's nothing. And then from there, you really start to learn what value means, because now you already got these different tools. So now you know what to respect. Now you got the value. Now you are the value. And this was the main issue, is that men like to take from women because women are the value. But really, from an esoteric perspective, shout out to Uriel, when we come here as spirits, we come here being the opposite of what we were. So as a man, you were more in your divine feminine natures, which is why a lot of times, depending on what kind of spirit you are, you may have struggled with your desires from a young age. Sorry about that, y'all. A little thing came up. But from that being said, you was more in your divine feminine natures, which is another reason why a lot of times as a young kid, you probably struggled with desires or caring too much or being too much in that like stimulated energy of everything else. You know, you're here to build something. You got to build infrastructure. You got to change things. You got to actually not care about a lot of those different things nowadays. You know what I'm saying? And if you were a woman here, you was a man before. So a lot of times that explains that overly masculine energy going on, especially with how the dynamics have been changed nowadays too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a big shift and we all being forced to change and stuff like that. And this is just one of the many problems that we all got to experience and just kind of learn to sculpt in a better way so we can create these new clarified bodies. Let's leave it there. Right? We ain't got to go no further than that. So now that we already know that, we know when it comes to these different things and tools, we know our place of what we're supposed to do here. So if you a man, you here to change some stuff. So boom, we changing how we looking at this. And thus came what? Past, present, and future. We create existence on the instant. And these are things we got to learn and experience. Thus, that's another name of this song too. So this entire album is really just around learning, or which is keyword, earning what you need to do, which would be what a man will earn, aka man represents a 5. So these are things that you can perceive with your what? Higher chakras, or using your mind, that mind in that lower dense area to what? Perceive things that are less dense, things that take you what? Out of your lower animalistic natures. Thus why the album cover is what? A black, thick woman angel with the wings, right? Because black means it's an accumulation of something, right? Which means it's been here for a while to even get that dark. And what? She's dressed in what? White. Now, the reason she's dressed in white is because white is one of the first light colors when we actually start to piece each density of the spectrum from pearl, which is nothing but just black and white. It looks like it's both at the same time, so it's like static and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And she's what? She has her wings flying on a mountain, so that's you going uphill from that battle you were on and making that big emotion lighter and letting go of any previous baggage that was once holding you back. Welcome to What a Man Will Earn.